Air freight demand begins to wane amid worldwide financial shocks. Dubai. The robust cargo demand that helped passenger-deprived airways stay afloat at some point of the pandemic is displaying symptoms of softening amid growing economic uncertainty, in component, fueled by many years' high inflation. A capacity weakening of the air freight marketplace coincides with growing situation in the aviation enterprise that surging passenger traffic, which has reduced airlines' reliance on shipment revenue, can be fleeting. The Baltic Air Freight Index, which indicates weekly transactional fees for well-known shipment, fell 8.7% closing week, whilst the Airways Group IATA stated on Monday that freight revenue generated by means of carriers this year could fall by using 6.4%. Qatar Airways chief executive Akbar Al-Bakr warned on Monday that inflation became expected to weaken demand for air freight and eventually put downward strain on yields. There can be a downturn in business activity, and when there is a downturn in enterprise, people do not buy stuff that we usually convey as cargo, he advised newshounds at an industry assembly in Doha. Edward Bell, an economist at Dubai lender Emirates NBD, defined customers and corporates as dealing with a form of vortex of price pressures that they might more and more be touchy to over the rest of the year. Korean Air Chief Executive Walter Cho said freight rates had softened but have been a ways better than they have been earlier than the pandemic, while there was a lot extra capacity. Demand is susceptible in particular for the reason that China is essentially closed down proper now. We count on it to returned quickly. I expect the shipment marketplace to be sustainable till next 12 months at least. Crédit Agricole OTC, Crary, CIB's global head of asset finance group José Abramovici stated the arena changed into in all likelihood to stay worthwhile for numerous more years given how excessive air freights are these days. Cathay Pacific chief executive Augustus Tang instructed cargo load factors were not as high as they have been because extra air freight capacity being added to the marketplace. If there is any moderation, it might be clearly small. However, the fashion remains honestly wonderful, he said. The freight market, each air and ocean, has visible costs skyrocket for the reason that pandemic amid massive potential cuts which have left restricted to be had area in comparison to shipment being shipped. But now that the monetary outlook has turned negative, with increase slowing in China, inflation growing globally and shops like Target NYSE, TGT, and Walmart NYSE, WMT trying to do away with extra stock, the outlook could be very different from simply 6 months ago. The World Bank this month slashed its international economic growth forecast by 1.2 percentage points to 2.9% for 2022 and warned many countries were probable to face recessions. United Airlines chief executive Scott Kirby, NYSE, KEX, said freight rates ought to slide as greater capability is delivered but that shipment demand could live, in reality strong, because of deliver chain challenges. Emirates shipment boss Nabil Sultan, in an interview with, stated rates could continue to be wherein they may be for the next 6 to 8 months given the surge in gasoline costs, whilst call for became probably to nevertheless outstrip deliver at the same time as greater ability is being delivered. However, he warned that expanded operating expenses, consisting of fuel and labor, had been making some routes almost unviable to perform. Emirates is adding more freight routes into China this month in anticipation of an boom in production which has taken a hit under Beijing's zero-COVID policy. Korean Air and Emirates are each evaluating Airbus and Boeing NYSE, BA's 777X freights for brand spanking new orders, their executives stated.